Sometimes a man with nothing good left to die for can live with nothing to lose.
Hello! Here we are! Together again at last! I know, you all missed me, right? That's probably all you've been thinking for 7 days now. Man, I miss Josh Foreman. And him plugging his book for every single time. The Scarred King. Soon to be a trilogy, currently a duology, full of beautiful illustrations and maps, and I mean, well, hold up. That's not a beautiful illustration at all. You can hardly tell what that is. Granted, we're still getting better at figuring out the printing process and like what contrast and resolution works best for getting printed, but you know, it's full of scary monsters I've designed. Look at that one, it's like a flying bug monster. But don't worry, our hero has backup from these guys. These are called Rumshaw, and there are various classes of them. This is like the big tanky version. They have giant clubs and axes and stuff. They're pretty fun people. There's another picture of one. I really like the Rumshaw. You know, I came up with the original idea, and then my co-author did a lot more like cultural building on them, and then that gave me lots of ideas to do more cultural stuff. They're just a fantastic culture. They don't believe in the future. They're instinct driven mostly. They're a eusocial species, meaning that they you know, it's all for the greater good of their community. Here's a digger version of them, you know, kind of worker drone, as it were. And here's a woman Beaumark runs into one of their establishments. There's the merchant class. They like to dress up, but they also have a sense of humor is vital to them. That's how they kind of interpret all of reality, is through this sort of jokey lens. So even when catastrophe happens, it's because the unfathomable jester did it, and it's a joke, and it's okay if like half their colony is wiped out. They just go on. Here's other things that I've developed for the Tales from Talifar series. This is our hero Beaumark. He's the hero of the first trilogy that we're in the middle of publishing. Skola is his kind of guide. They really don't like each other through most of the journey, but their interactions are fascinating and illustrative of all sorts of interesting themes and ideas. This is a Rumshaw die. I've showed this a couple times, but this is available on my Amazon store on Amazon Handmade. If you search for Breath of Life development, you can find these beauties. And so this is a four-sided dice that's got 4 different bells on it, 2 silver, 1 gold, and 1 iron. And the idea is that when you do trade with a Rumshaw, the first thing they do is they hand you this dice and you roll it. And so I got silver bell up. That means that I pay the kind of list price, whatever is on the placard. That's what I pay for my meal or my armor or whatever it is I'm buying from them. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, this time I got iron bell up. That means I have to pay double. If I can get gold now, this is gonna be the best illustration ever. Oh, I did not get gold. Pretend I got gold. That means I get it for free. That's just how they operate. It's fantastic. I love their culture so much. Okay. Enough about Tales from Talifar, you guys. Let's talk about what we're working on today. So I was working on this last week as well, and I did a little more work on it since then. I've got most of the forms like, not smoothed out, what is the word I'm looking for? I guess just coated so that everything is ready to be smoothed out, sanded down, really nice. And also, this was another guy I was working on recently that you may have seen me working on. This is the Foreman. Any resemblance is purely coincidental. And this backdrop is for him to stand on. So he's got this little Star Wars peg hole, and he's got a little peg hole on his foot. And eventually I'll figure out, okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't have it quite perfectly gauged yet, but it's gonna end up being like this. Once all is said and done, that's gonna be the composition. So I'm really happy with how it's coming along. The idea with this particular style of rock is that I wanted to have a toy set feel, like so many play sets for G.I. Joe or whatever back in the day. They were all formed out of this injection molding process where there's a big steel mold and the plastic is like shot into it at 1,000,000 miles an hour at 1,000,000,000 degrees, and all the edges have to be like very roundy and smooth so that it can pop out of that metal mold. And the taller that the injection mold piece is, unless it's what is that? I don't know. I'll just call it a two-part mold. Industrial molding is different than the kind of artisanal molding that I'm used to. But anyway, it gives just this unique look of like everything is kind of smoothy, roundy, whatever. So I'm trying to recreate that on a handmade artisanal piece. I'm trying to recreate a factory, right, finish in the same way that I did with this guy. And it took me forever to get that like perfectly smooth, just came out of a box sort of look to him. That is not easy to achieve by hand. Let me tell you what, not easy. All right, so I think basically I'm at the point where I need to sand all these edges down and give it that nice smooth finish. And so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this beautifully finished piece and put it somewhere and cover it with something, because otherwise it's gonna get coated in dust again, and I worked way too hard to give it a pristine surface to just have to like spend a lot of time dusting it again. In the bag. You got it in the bag. So I found that this particular tool works really well for this style that I'm doing. You think it looks a vinyl, Quindy? Good. Good. I'm glad you think that. Here's a little, just like, rock that's gonna go like there or whatever, you know what I mean? Somewhere. To give the composition just a little something something. And it's a pretty good piece to kind of test out the different techniques I've been trying to figure out. So this is like it's a Velcro-y thing, and this is like nice and flexible. So what that does is it makes it, if it's totally stiff, then you're gonna get like super sharp edges as you sand. But because of the smoothness, or the flexibility of it rather, it's gonna give me more of that roundy plastic toy feel. Oh man, I have a thought. I have this fire down by my feet. I just always keep my workspace on fire just in case it gets cold. But because of that, there's heat rising up, and as I'm dusting, it's basically making all the little dust float up directly into my nose holes, which is not where I want this dust. And I really don't want to wear a mask if I don't have to. So I'm gonna see what happens if I put my fire over here. Maybe I'll breathe in less rock dust into my nose holes. Everyone have fun holiday plans? I sure don't. My holiday plans are to finish sanding and painting my garage, and then and checking to see if the mold that I have around the edges of one of my walls, is that active? Is it a thing, or is it old-fashioned? Apparently there was some flooding or leaking or something, and I don't know if that's going to be an ongoing concern. Since we moved into this house, I guess this is pretty normal. It just feels like it's one thing after another after another. We keep having to fix or upgrade or change or whatever. And we're not those kind of people who are like, oh, I don't like brass fixtures, so I'm going to do a complete kitchen remodel. It's not that kind of stuff. It's more like, oh, our heat pump broke because they didn't use a filter when they were doing the remodel, and all that dust went directly into the coils and destroyed it. Or the garage door is literally falling apart, need to replace it. And then, like many things, all the parts are stuck in the supply chain shenanigans going on right now. So while we ordered it 5 or 6 months ago, we have yet to get our new garage door. I hope that makes it warmer in here. Oh yeah, same Quindy. I'm going to be tomorrow's going to be my last day at work for the year. And it's going to be a pretty fun day because I'm actually going to be streaming Blanco's Block Party on the Play Mythical Twitch channel most of the day from 10 a.m. on. So that's going to be pretty fun. It's going to be a celebration of the builders, the people who make the levels for Blanco's Block Party. And we'll be giving away prizes and awards, and it's going to be great. Looking forward to that. So that might actually be a little sharper than I want, but it's easy to go from sharp to rounded once I get the planes exactly where I want them. It's just a matter of coming in at what angle is that? Is that oblique to the, so it's, if there was a normal on this edge, speaking in CG terms, it would be pointing straight out like that, and I need to come down at whatever that particular direction is. Someone who knows math, tell me what is that direction. Okay. Oh man, tell me about it. Today at work has just been non-stop, my Slack going ping, 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 ping. And almost every ping is like, oh God, this is another thing I need to make sure is buttoned down and sorted, information given, priorities listed, etc., for before I leave. And normally I would have tomorrow to get it sorted, but like I said, I'm going to be streaming all day, so it's pretty hard to be answering Slack messages at the same time. Not that I'm not going to be tempted, because I'm going to be right at my, work desk, but we'll see. Let's see if I can handle the temptation. One of the things I'm trying to figure out is how to do, I want to do a texture of like, sort of a, if you imagine camouflage splotches around here, right? But them being like, what is that word? Dented in? Dented in is definitely not the word, but that's what I mean. And one way to achieve that is to get this flat and then add another layer of something, but purposely leave those holes in place. But that requires yet another sanding pass. So I'm trying to think of another way to do that. If I had, I feel like I do have a Dremel attachment that lets you like push the Dremel in just a certain amount, and then there's like little bars or a plate on the side essentially that you can set to say how deep you want it down in there. I don't think I have that anywhere I can find right now. Alright. I think that's fine for that part for now. See how there's these little holes where I smeared the Bondo over it, but it naturally left those little gaps? That's kind of the overall texture that I want if I can get these, the surface itself, like super smooth. Plastic smooth. Oh man, I forgot that sanding Bondo still gets that fresh Bondo smell out into the air. It's no good. Yeah, for these parts I might actually want a more more aggressively flat, harder sandpaper. Hard is not the word I'm looking for. What is the word I'm looking for? Low grit. The sequel to the movie True Grit. Surely I have strips for this thing. Is this the strips for the thing? It's way too fine for what I'm trying to do. Guess I could use this sanding block. Put some, where did I put it? I had super aggressive sandpaper. What did I do with it? I must have buried it while looking for the other thing. Skill I excel at. There we go. Okay, let's try this. funny. It seems like at least once or twice a year, I'll go to the hardware store and I'm like, I could never find a sanding set of sandpaper and sanding block that are made for each other in my pile of thousands of them. Everything is differently sized and shaped for whatever annoying reason. And so I'll just buy another one, and that just adds to the pile of chaos of like, wait, does that fit that? Nope, almost, but not quite. So I end up spending a lot of time dinking around, custom cutting stuff that I really shouldn't need to, because I'm absolutely certain I have like probably a massive pack of stuff designed specifically to fit that piece, but wow, did a really bad job of making that tight. Let's try that again. Taking it down a little faster. Like, look how thick that sandpaper is. I don't know why this Bondo is so incredibly strong. I could use a power tool on it. Maybe that's what I need to do. Just focus on the areas where power tool is not going to fit well. One thing I'm so excited about for this break is finishing my garage so that my streams will go so much smoother, because I will actually have all my tools and supplies here in the shop in organized places. Nice thing about this tool is that I have that nice round edge, so I can maintain this sort of smooth, blended angles here. Yeah, it seems like probably the best thing to do is to just come in with my power tool. Should, in theory, make much shorter work of that. But let's look at this guy, because this one has me slightly concerned. I had it outside because Bondo is so smelly. And when I brought it inside, I had some black goop on my hand, and it had been out there for days. And I'm like, what is going on? Why did it not set? And yeah, some of this black sections are still kind of goopy. And that's not good. I'm assuming this is because there's a limit. I mean, obviously there's going to be a limit. I'm kind of surprised that I hit it. A limit to how much pigment you can mix into it, because it's just like definitely affected the overall properties of it negatively. And the sad thing is, like, I didn't need to mix any pigment in with this. I'm going to be covering the entire thing and painting it anyway. But I don't know, I just have that thing where I'm like, if I can make the base color as close to the final painted color as possible, I just feel happier during the whole process, you know? Dead mosquito hanging out on the mountain. You're gonna do some organizing? Yep, exactly. My whole downstairs area of my house is unpacked boxes mostly that most of them need to go into this room as part of my art studio, but then there are other dependencies on, like, once that stuff's cleared out, I can set up my bedroom better, which means I could unpack my other, like, just personal items, etc., etc. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Yeah, look at that. That is not good. So I guess I just need to rub all of this stuff off. It makes me worried that anything I put over it is then going to have problems. And by worried, I mean I have a near certainty it's going to have problems. We got a raid. Art of Mike Disney. Welcome. For those of us, yes, I include myself amongst the raiders who have just joined us. I'm working on a playset kind of backdrop for a figure that I 3D printed and painted and everything. It's kind of a vinyl toy sort of looking thing, and so I wanted the background for it to have a injection mold hard plastic look to it. So I'm doing a very stylized thing here. I usually do more of that kind of stuff. Oh wow, hard to see. I must have my what is that called? There's a thing that cameras have where you, oh, let me do that real quick. Let's see. Nope. ISO, there we go. How are we doing? Oh, much better. Yeah, anyway, I usually do more realistic diorama and terrain kind of stuff, but yeah, in this case, okay, you can go away now. Nope, my camera's like, sorry, you touched the ISO, I'm gonna just be here forever now. I'm gonna remind you of your choices. Okay, anyway, that's what I'm doing. And I ran into a problem where some of my Bondo that I'm using to skin over the XPS foam, I think I mixed in too much So Strong pigment, and now it's all goopy, so I'm like, well, drat. And it's been, oh gosh, I want to say 4 or 5 days since I put it on, so it's not one of those things where I feel like, oh, if I just leave it for a day or so, it'll set. It's like, if it hasn't set at this point, it seems unlikely it ever will. You know, I think I've got a metal scraper that might do well. I'm going back and forth. If I used a metal scraper, I could definitely get this off faster, but that's also going to end up causing damage that I'm going to have to come in and fix with another layer, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather not do that if I don't have to. But I'm wondering, like, if even a residue of this is left, what is that going to end up doing to the final surface? Nothing good. Definitely nothing good. So I might need to, gosh, and this is gonna gum up all of my sandpaper so fast if I'm gonna sand it off. Would not be the first expensive, time-consuming mistake that I've made in the past little while, that's for sure. So goopy. This is probably what the poor servants at the, what was the name of the bathhouse in Spirited Away? Do you have a name, or was it just called the bathhouse? Like after No Face goes on his rampage, his black slimy rampage, this is probably what they had to do for days on end. Just scrape black goop off the place. Oh, and other news, please make sure to check out my YouTube channel, Josh Foreman. It's listed up there somewhere. Tomorrow, I'm going to have the video out about the making of the Foreman, the figure that stands on this mountain. It's got all sorts of very entertaining elements to it. Basically, I was looking at all the footage that I had, and so much of it is just like stripping back and redoing everything, resanding, repriming, repainting. I was like, oh my god, I've got to come up with something to make this somehow entertaining. And I probably went overboard on the random other elements that are going to be in there. We'll see. Maybe it's just the right amount of overboard. But I'm pretty excited. I'm trying a new method for my YouTube videos. Previously, the way I did it was I would compile all the footage of the project, you know, just lay it out sequentially, go in and edit out, you know, as much as I could, so it's just like a few seconds here and there of me scraping, sanding, painting, you know, all the process. And then, amazingly, that would always end up being like somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half of footage. And it's just like, and then I would record a voiceover track explaining what was going on, right? It's pretty standard method for creating YouTube videos from art type peoples. But for whatever reason, I could not figure out how to get the video shorter because I want people to see the whole process, right? Because I'm kind of a teaching oriented channel, less so than just a satisfaction of seeing a project go from 0 to finished in 10 minutes or whatever channel. Which probably explains why I've been at it for 10 years and still at only 30,000 subs. But yeah, so I tried a new experiment this time, and I'll see how it works, where I just tried to say out loud and then write down what I was saying. Like if someone walked up to me and was like, "How did your project go, Josh?" You know, I wouldn't start talking for an hour and a half to explain how my project went. I would find ways to summarize things and hit the high points. And it turns into more of a narrative explanation as opposed to a instruction manual sort of thing. So I tried that, and I came up with essentially a script, as it were. And then I scrubbed through all of my footage to see if make sure I wasn't forgetting things. And so I added a few things here and there. But when I read it out loud, I timed myself reading the script, and it came out to less than 15 minutes. So I was like, aha, is this how everyone else does it? So anyway, that's what I'm doing for this video. I'm gonna see, hopefully it stays in the 15 to 20 minute mark. And since I still have all of the 300 hours of footage compiled into like a 2-hour thing, I'll just release that on my Patreon for people who really want to see the more teachy oriented, like every single setback and problem solving that went into it. Because, there's definitely a certain percentage of people that they want to see that. It's just pretty small percentage compared to the people who want to see the satisfaction of a project just coming together. That's my theory. We'll see. Anyway, this is the first video I'm putting out that way, and I want to see, we'll see how it does. Quindy, have I not shamed you enough about never seeing Spirited Away? What do I need to do to get you to watch Spirited Away? You just tell me, I'll do it. I think we talked about this a while ago, about how I do not like anime. Just don't care for it. Nothing about it. Actually, most of the things about it super annoy me. The aesthetic annoys me, the plots almost always annoy me, the characterizations always annoy me, is it called sub-vocalization? I can't stand that stuff. Yeah, so nothing about anime appeals to me. Despite having grown up in Japan, my formative years of 2 years old to 7 years old, I lived in Japan. I don't like anime. But anyway, Miyazaki films, I love. Especially Spirited Away. It's probably my favorite animated film. Let's see, would it be do you have Disney Plus? Or whatever the Disney Channel is? Pretty sure they have all the Studio Ghibli stuff. I'm just gonna always purposely mispronounce it because I never know the right way. And then whenever I say it wrong, the anime nerds make fun of me. kick me in the stomach and take my lunch money. It's not how you pronounce Jubilee. Oh, get on that, Quindy. Watch yourself a Spirited Away. Wow, what an annoying process this turned out to be. I was so excited today. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be like polishing this thing down to a nice hard plastic sheen. And then no, past Josh was like, nope, I'm gonna put too much pigment in there, sucker. And then present Josh is like, darn you, past Josh. I'll get you yet. Past Josh is like, it's all in the past, man. Just for me, I appreciate it. You got a holiday coming up. It's a great holiday movie. I mean, it's not directly tied to any holiday that I know of, but it just has those feels. It's got such a just delicious, mystical, like, oh, how to describe that aesthetic? I don't even know. It's just very unique. I've never experienced that particular feeling in a movie before. And the characters only seldom go, hmm, That was actually the thing that took me out of Dark Crystal the most. Whatever that's called. I don't know what, like, animated things and puppets, for whatever reason, people think that they have to just constantly have them be making sounds, even if they're not talking. I guess it's to compensate for the fact that they have less, you know, subtle range to their facial performance, but man, cannot handle it. Princess Mononoke. Yeah, it's pretty different from that. It definitely has some similar aesthetics here and there. Like, I love the little forest spirits in Princess Mononoke, and it's got like some similar little soot spirit guys in Spirited Away, but yeah, to be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen Mononoke. I barely remember it. Watched a bunch of other Ghibli films over the last couple years, hoping that they would be more like Spirited Away. And they just don't have... They're great, and most of them are utterly fantastic, but they don't quite raise to that level for me personally. Yeah, I wasn't grabbed by Mononoke either. Let's see if I can sand the rest of this off. god, this is a nightmare. It's so funny, like while I was adding all of that pigment, I was absolutely thinking to myself, it's probably not a good idea. It's definitely a waste of money because that pigment is not cheap. It's gonna be completely covered by paint. Like, the only reason that I feel such a compulsion to do it is in the off chance that it gets chipped or dinged, which certainly happens not infrequently to, you know, handmade art as it gets moved around and stuff. But man, that should not allow me to jeopardize the, you know, end up making the project take hours longer than it needs to, you know? Have you not seen any other Ghibli movies, Quindy? After Mononoke was meh for you? Yeah. There are definitely some ones that I would say are incredibly boring that a lot of people still love. That's one with the witch, the little witch girl. There's one that's like super influential to video games and anime and just the art world in general, Castle in the Sky, which has like a few great moments, but man is it slow. The aesthetics are amazing, the visual aesthetics. Do I have to like just sand this all the way back down to the bone? Is that what's gonna happen? I mean, I ended up doing this on my on the character that I was working on. I had to strip it back with not acetone. Yeah, I used acetone, but I also used xylene, which I've never used before, and that stuff's pungent. Do not recommend breathing in. I wore the full like respirator face mask and had my spray booth going full blast. If I do this. this part, I was able to get down to a nice smooth finish relatively easier, but other parts it's just like trying to sand through tar. Tarnation! That's what it's like sanding. Garbage truck time. It's a good workout. Especially if, like me, you stopped going to the gym when COVID started and you haven't been working out at all since then, and you gained 15 pounds, you're really not happy about it. I'm wondering if I have more of this super duper rough sandpaper. Oh no, is this blue problematic as well? The thing that sucks is that the black layer is not the last one that I put down, so there are places where the layer that I did over it is nice and hard the way it should be, but then it's like covering a thin layer of sludgy goop. Which means then I probably have to sand through both of those. This would be so much easier, as all things I've learned, if I wasn't going for a smooth, pristine, factory finish look. Which is funny because the look I'm going for is actually like cheaper, right? Like you could buy a playset toy that has this kind of finish for like 10 bucks. But I'm spending like countless hours to get it not realistic and like that cheap look. But it's a customized cheap look, so at least it's got that going for it. This belt, which I think is not going to work on my other belt sander. Sandpaper. Is this 330? No, I want like 80 or 40. 150? Nope. Just constantly buying sandpaper and never having the kind that I actually want. This is the life, let me tell you. All right, let's try this. We'll use this belt. Belt no more. Yeah, I would agree. This is better than cutting off my ear. A bit better. Let's see. All right, maybe this. Let's try this. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's eating through quite a bit better. I have to press really hard, but it's getting the job done much better than this other stuff. Fondue on top of cake frosting is pretty good description, actually. Flat palette knife. Yeah, so I did a lot of scraping with this guy, and then I was thinking about getting a metal flat blade like a palette knife, but I was worried that I would end up like gouging in other places and making it worse. But either way, like that, a flat knife is not going to get me into all these little nooks and crannies or get through the hardened shell that's over it. By the way, is it fondue or fondue? Or are those two different things? What's the thing where you put things on a stick and dip it in chocolate or cheese? Is that fondue? I don't know much about the fancy foods. Fondue is melted chocolate or cheese. Okay, so fondue. So the word that is spelled like fondue is, or feels like it should be to me, is actually it's actually spoken the way it's spelled, which I guess that throws me off for some reason. Seems like a French word that would have the silent T thing going on. You know, just to mess with people's heads like the French do. That was a fun little like cartoon tear. What's going on there? It's like literally a W got torn in there. I do not want to touch this with my bare hands because the black sludge, the reason that it's sludgy is because I put too much So Strong tint. It's a pigment that's made specifically for mixing with resin and silicone and other materials, but you know, you don't want to mix in too much, and that's what happened. But that stuff dyes so hard, like it is. If you get it on your skin, it's almost like henna ink, almost, but probably much less natural and healthy. Yeah, here's a great example of a place where I put the black down to fill in a pretty deep gash and then put another layer or two over it, and those layers are harder than the one under it. What?
There is some liquid, but I'm like,
Oh my god.
I am.
It's just never ending. You guys want to hear a funny story about my dishwasher? So part of the moving in process, a week or so ago, I found a bunch of household cleaning items, one of which was those like dishwasher pods that you put in the little door, and then you close the little door, and then when the door opens, the pod comes out and dissolves, blah, blah, blah. We've been using that type of product for a while. So I was like, oh cool, we got more of these. So I put them in our little cleaning supply thing where you go when you're going to do the dishes. And then several days later, our dishwasher is like, I'm done swallowing water. I'm just going to have a giant pool of water full of suds at the bottom now. We were like, what is going on? And we were thinking it must be broken or jammed. And I was like, I had to use that little turkey baster to suck the water out over and over and over and over. I spent hours on this thing trying to figure it out. And then it occurred to me, and I went and looked and saw, oh my god, these are laundry pods, not dishwasher pods. Does it say that on the packaging anywhere? Question. Answer. No, it does not say that anywhere. It talks about the scent. It has the name brand. There is one little giveaway. A tiny section of the packaging had a picture of a shirt on it. So like if I had studied the package for a minute or so, I probably could have averted disaster. But I did not. So it turns out, in order to get rid of laundry or dish soap suds, you have to wash, like basically run the washer with oil, like cooking oil. Sometimes vinegar can work, but basically those things help break the suds apart, essentially, and flush it through the system. But I had to do that like 10 times. I ran the dishwasher with various things trying to get and every time there's a giant thing of suds at the bottom. I would have to do the turkey baster trick over and over and over again. By the way, Turkey Baster Trick is the name of my band. Or will be as soon as I start a band. But then it just came down to the fact that it just had to be done over and over, and our dishes kept smelling like laundry, which is just not very appetizing. Specifically, it smells like, if you've ever got de-wrinkler spray, that's what it smelled like. I have that for green screen. And I was like, oh, my son Shane, he does video stuff too. I was like, oh, he must be spraying down his green screen for something. But no, this is the dishes. And I thought it was all behind us, but apparently it's back to doing it. I don't know how that happens. Yeah, the blue must have gone over the black. So the blue and this like rusty brown both went over the black. So everywhere I see those, there's suspected goop underneath. Oh my god. Or maybe actually the blue itself? No, it looks like the blue itself might actually be goop. Not fully set as well. Yeah, there's no black under there. It's straight up the blue is also having issues. You guys, why is art so hard? Why can't I just think of a thing and have it manifest into reality? All I ask for is godlike superpowers. I don't know why that's so much to ask. Because in some parts it's perfectly fine and others not. Here it's fine, here it's not. I guess the pigment must not have been like equally mixed. I don't know where any radioactive spiders are, sadly. I know where plenty of spiders are. They always like to hang out right by my pillow on the wall against my bed, like a foot from my face. And they're always the ones that are like that big, you know? It's like, hi, how's it going? Alright, new rule. No so strong tint in Bondo. These are the rules. I both make the rules and enforce them. At least in this little fiefdom. Probably also another factor in whether this ever set fully or not had to do with how much of the cure hardener that I added. Because it's not something that's particularly easy to measure. I just kind of do it by eye. And the more you add, the faster it sets. But I've never had a problem with it not ever setting, right? Like, sometimes it would take hours, maybe up to a day. If you do a particularly hot mix, like a lot of hardener, it can set within like 5 minutes or less. But yeah, this has been several days now, and man, oh man, well, I wonder, it might be worth just like letting it sit another, because I don't need to get this particular project done super fast. I'll probably be releasing the video for it on the let's see, February 1st. So I've got some time. And if it means I don't have to re-sand all this whole front section here, boy, that'd be a time and anguish saver. Maybe what I'll do in the last 10 or 15 minutes here is see if I can get my, I have an idea for how to get my texture on here, and since this is the back, it's a perfect place to experiment with that. This is the worst. The blue continues under this part. Super annoying thing is that the whole point of putting this filler in is to be able to do a much easier sanding pass, because you know it'd fill in all these gaps. But because I put it in and it didn't set, I have to sand more to get rid of it, and then even more again to get all the way down to the bare, like the nice flat surface I'm attempting. I think we're almost there on this part. And then I'm going to try some, what is it, wall texture. My concern with the wall texture is that it's going to be too easy to scratch and ding. I wish I could get colored wall texture that was black. I'm trying to think what else is like it that I can just kind of spatter on and then, you know, use a flattener thing to just squash it down. Yeah, I thought about simply another layer of Bondo. So close, but then there's a little bit of blue here. Alright, let's do art test. What do we got? Knockdown, wall texture, heavy bodied. That's what I've been becoming lately. Okay, so I've used this stuff before, I'm just double checking. Can't remember, do you shake it? Shake can. Vigorously for 1 minute. I don't know if I have the arm strength for that anymore. Just off time from nozzle. Straight up for light knockdown. Counterclockwise for heavy knockdown. Circular motion. Da, da, da. Allow texture to dry for 4 to 8 minutes. Then knockdown. Oh, okay. Dry time 2 to 5 hours. Okay. Vigorous shaking. tell if there's a rattle ball in there or not. So if there is, it's like barely been shaken loose. That's all I've got in me. I can't do no more. Okay. Let's see. Remove tab. Okay. I'm gonna try. Wish me luck. How do you remove tab? There we go. Okay, and then we've got heavy on this side, light that way. So I guess this means heavy. All right. Beautiful. Looks like I just spit a loogie on the wall. That's exactly what I was hoping for. Does it need to be... Oh, there we go. That's pretty gross looking, you guys. Try that again. So the idea is that I want this to mostly cover, and then in some there would just be little gaps. But I think it kind of expands, and then when you knock it down, it like spreads out. So I'm gonna need to practice to get the density where I want it. Okay, there's a good practice to start. Out of curiosity, I get it on a more sort of convoluted type of surface as well. We're going to find out if having it on that rock works out. To store clear nozzle by turning can upside down and spraying until texture is cleared. Okay. It's kind of runny. You know, I guess I could set it like this so it's not, doesn't have gravity pulling it in weird directions. Then we got our little knockdown Squishy Squasho. Official name, Squishy Squasho. Give it a minute. Since we've only got another couple minutes before we're gonna raid someone. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about my book. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel, Josh Foreman. Got a video about making this guy. Oh yeah, just in case. Just in case y'all missed it, here's the guy that I was working on a couple weeks ago. Vinyl toy style sculpture known as the Foreman. Got some dust on him. Yeah, so pretty happy with how that turned out. And there's going to be a video about him coming out tomorrow on the Josh Foreman YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out. If you're into a game called Blanco's Block Party, which that character is from, go to the Play Mythical channel tomorrow, Twitch channel. I'm going to be streaming award show and just playing through a bunch of levels that players have created. That's going to be a lot of fun. Right, the book. So, I'm just going to flip to the next picture I see. I'm going to tell you something about it. What do we got? Okay, here we have a map. This is Knotbush Groves. That's an area that that our heroes travel through. See right there. It's heavily, well, not heavily forested, but it's, you know, they're groves. Lots of cool lakes in there to explore. Our protagonist ends up at Sharp Point Lighthouse, where he has jumped off a ship to escape and has to swim for a mile or two. Don't worry, he's a good swimmer, but he does catch a cold because he's from a tropical region, and most people, when they travel through biomes that are not their own, especially for the first time in their lives, it's not easy transition. Most people get sick, at least some kind of disease, some kind of sickness. We try to be pretty realistic in our books. This right here is a bag of mysterious things that you're going to have to read the book to find out what they are. Beaumark thinks they're kind of fruit and is about to eat them when Scola here, his travel companion, is like, I will literally kill you if you eat those. And then you find out why. Alright, let's try this knockdown and then we'll call it. We'll hop over to someone else cool. Go ahead and get that queued up, and I'll just knock down on the way out. So have a good one, guys.
They all stop beating 'cause they know what's coming now. So I see what